And Larry, you're muted.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Lppbbsg Primary Purpose Big Book Study Group. Our study follows study group. Our study follows a 96-week cycle that begins on the title page and continues through page 164. We study spiritual experience in Appendix 2 3 times when the asterisk refers us to there. We also study Dr. Bob's Nightmare and the 12 Traditions. We close our study on week 96 by studying spiritual experience as a stand-alone meeting. Our meeting began January 7th, 2020 using this format, and we are grateful you're all here in study with us tonight. My name is Larry, and I am a grateful recovered alcoholic.
And my name is Aaron, and I'm a very grateful recovered alcoholic.
Before we begin, please be aware that the first 90 minutes of this meeting will be recorded in audio only for our website, podcast, and our YouTube channel. If you missed the study portion, you can listen to it online. Study pages will also be listed in chat. Be sure to check out the information posted in the chat and throughout the meetings for our meeting times. Any announcements for the greater good of AA?
I'm Trish and I'm an alcoholic. And while we have had to bump it a few times, we will be having group conscience on Monday the 24th at 7:30 Eastern Time in this room. And thank you for your understanding about having to bump it yesterday because I had no electric. Kind of hard to function that way.
All right. Tonight's recap page will be found on page 89 to practical experience shows, and will end on page 91 for that might spoil matters. And tonight our study portion will begin on page 91, usually the family, and it will end on page 93, that he lived by spiritual experience.
Please take a moment to settle in and get comfortable. We take our Big Book study seriously, and we want everyone to feel present and connected as we begin. In a moment, we will have a 3-minute meditation, followed by our family's fog light prayer. As we move into the study, please help us maintain a peaceful environment. Please be mindful of background noise and when you are unmuted. If you wouldn't do it in a live meeting, please don't do it on Zoom. Also, please stay muted during other people's shares. We will call on hands in order they are raised. From the foreword to the first edition of Alcoholics Anonymous. We of Alcoholics Anonymous are many thousands of men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. To show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book and of this group. For the meditation, focus on your breath and posture, Breathe in God and breathe out self. Take this time to reconnect with God and release the day.
From the forward, did I get it?
Oh, hold on.
All done.
Monks. I got it, Aaron.
I got it.
Okay.
Now it's time for our fog light prayer. Coming to our screen. Fog light prayer. God, let your love shine through us like a fog light so that those that are lost and sick and dying can find your love through us. Amen.
And now let's have our secretary report.
Hi everybody, I'm Trish and I am your alcoholic secretary. And I have asked William to read the recovered statement to explain why many in this group identify as recovered. Take it away, William.
Thank you. My name is William. I'm the alcoholic to read the recovery statement. We are not cured of alcoholism, recovered, but not cured. That's present conflicts to some alcoholics. If we are cured, we wouldn't be able to drink. We would be able to drink responsibly. No, we are not cured. The allergy reaction to alcohol will remain with us for a lifetime. But we have been restored to sanity. That was the problem. The main problem of alcohol centers in his mind rather than in his body. Page 23, we are not sane where alcohol is concerned. Consequently, we have recovered.
Thank you, William. We meet every Tuesday night at 5:30 Central Time for fellowship before the meeting. Our Big Book study begins promptly at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. During the study, chat will be disabled. From the forward to the second edition on page XX of alcoholics who came to AA and really tried, 50% got sober at once and remained that way. 25% sobered up after some relapsed, and the remainder, those who stayed on with AA, showed improvement. Could we have a show of hands of people joining us for the first time? Welcome Susan, welcome Jamie, welcome Jeff, welcome Gerard. Glad you're all here. And the recovered alcoholics. Oh, and Khalil, welcome to you. Is anyone celebrating a milestone this week? Terry?
I am.
What you got?
Okay, I'm Terry, recovered alcoholic, aka Pickle Chips. I turned 29 years last Wednesday.
Thank you. Wonderful.
It's good to share it with you guys,
Let me
my
get
pickle
that
family.
up for you. There you go. Congratulations.
Oh, it's a beauty. Thank you so much. Woo! I appreciate it. Thanks. And thank you all for my sobriety.
If you need a big book, we can send you a large print copy. Please let one of the co-hosts know by chat after the meeting. Please practice our 11th tradition using the links in the chat and on the screen. We encourage you to get a big book to work with an untreated alcoholic to take them through the program of recovery. Thank you and see you next week.
From There Is a Solution. The tremendous fact for every one of us is that we have discovered a common solution. We have a way out on which we can absolutely agree, and upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. This is the great news this book carries to those who suffer from alcoholism. This is an open meeting, and everyone is welcome. You are not required to identify yourself if you don't want to. Your anonymity will always be protected. We ask that you protect ours also. Our group is for those who want to recover from alcoholism and have the desire to stop drinking for good and all. Each member of Alcoholics Anonymous is a potential sponsor of a new member and should clearly recognize the obligations and duties of such a responsibility.
All right, it is time for our traditions, and I apologize for not knowing the tradition that we are on this week because I missed last week. All right, so before we began our study, last week we were on tradition 5, so tonight we will take a look at tradition 6. Please refer to page 562 of Alcoholics Anonymous. So, come in, Donald.
That would be me. Good evening, everyone. My name is Donald, aka the Red Pickle, and I am a very grateful, recovered, but not cured alcoholic. And this is what Chapter 6 is all about. So, what it states is that AA never endorse, finance, or lend the AA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, and prestige divert us from our primary purpose. And, it reminds me that Alcoholics Anonymous has one primary purpose, and that's to carry the message to recovery. Whenever I was drinking, I was focused on myself, my needs, my wants, my problems, anything and everything that was about me and stuff. And in recovery, I've learned that, AA works best whenever we protect the purpose and keep outside enterprises or interests, from taking over. It's about keeping the main thing. Yeah, be quiet. I was talking to my phone. That sounds simple and stuff, but whenever I look at my own life, I realize how easily I can get distracted. distracted. And my life was pretty much centered around me, like I said, what I wanted, what I needed, what I thought I deserved, what I, and my problems were always the biggest problems in the room. But whenever I look at step 6, it tells me that I've got to keep outside things outside of recovery. And whenever money, property, and prestige comes in, it creates problems, not just for me, but for a lot of people and stuff, because AA is not a treatment center. It's not a church. It's not a political organization. It's not a social club. And it's not a business. The only thing it is recovery for everyone. So when we keep the bigwigs out of our business and we keep the prestige away from those who are in service, it keeps us from thinking, look what I've done. Instead of saying and thinking, thank God I was allowed to be useful. So, AA is a lot bigger than any of my opinions, my positions, my home group, and even my group that I'm here with today. I'm just a trusted servant just like anyone else. So if we just keep everything separate, it's a lot easier and stuff. And that's about all I've got for you guys today. So God bless you. Thank you for letting me take a look at this tradition for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Donald. Now it's time for That Ain't in the Book. We sometimes hear things in meetings that can't be reconciled with what is in the big book. Tonight, the topic is, I have a choice to not drink. So, Kenny, can you tell us what it says on page 30, paragraph 3?
Hello, Kenny Alcoholic. We alcoholics are men and women who have lost the ability to control our drinking. We know that no real alcoholic ever recovers control. All of us felt at times that we were regaining control, but such intervals, usually brief, were inevitably followed by still less control, which led time to pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. We are now convinced to a man that alcoholics of our type are in the grips of a progressive illness over any considerable period. We get worse, never better.
Thank you. Thank you to all of our readers.
Be sure to use your pens, highlighters, and rulers as we study. We use the study guide prepared by Joe and Charlie and Krusty Cliff of the Dallas Primary Purpose Group to stay focused and consistent. We read the material once, then dissect it through question and answer format. After tonight's study is read, we will ask questions from the imaginary podium. The answers will be one sentence unless otherwise specified, and multi-part questions are simply a one-sentence answer, split up by commas, semicolons, hyphens, and other fun bits of punctuation. This helps us understand and apply the content clearly.
After the study, we open the meeting for comments and questions based on the pages that had been just read. Our purpose here is to stay in the book and let the message do the work. If a share drifts into something better handled with a sponsor, we'll kindly point you that way.
You can never go wrong by commenting on the page's study, which brings us to the words of one of the co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous. Sobriety, freedom from alcohol. Through the teaching and practice of the 12 steps is the sole purpose of any Alcoholics Anonymous group.
Before we begin the recap, I will need 5 or 6 volunteers to read answers. Then as you're doing that, I'm going to remind everybody that we will start our recap on page 89 and end on page 91 at the words, "For that might spoil matters." So our reader tonight will be Terry. So Terry, go ahead and start reading our recap.
Hi, everybody. Chapter 7, Working with Others. Practical experience shows that nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking as intensive work with other alcoholics. It works when other activities fail. This is our 12th suggestion. Carry this message to other alcoholics. You can help when no one else can. You can secure their confidence when others fail. Remember, they are very ill. Life takes on a new meaning. To watch people recover, to see them help others, to watch loneliness vanish, to see a fellowship grow up about you, to have a host of friends. This is an experience you must not miss. We know you will not want to miss it. Frequent contact with newcomers and with each other is a bright spot of our lives. Perhaps you are not acquainted with any drinkers who want to recover. You can easily find some by asking a few doctors, ministers, priests, or hospitals. They will be only too glad to assist you. Don't start out as an evangelist or reformer. Unfortunately, a lot of prejudice exists. You will be handicapped if you arouse it. Ministers and doctors are competent and you can learn much from them if you wish, but it happens that because of your own drinking experience, you will be uniquely useful to other alcoholics. So cooperate, never criticize. To be helpful is our only aim. When you discover a prospect for Alcoholics Anonymous, find out all you can about him. If he does not want to stop drinking, don't waste your time trying to persuade him. You may spoil a later opportunity. This advice is given for his family also. They should be patient, realizing they are dealing with a sick person. If there is any indication that he wants to stop, have a good talk with the person most interested in him, usually his wife. Get an idea of his behavior, his problems, his background, the seriousness of his condition, and his religious leanings. You need this information to put yourself in his place to see how you would like him to approach you if the tables were turned. Sometimes it is wise to wait until he goes on a binge. The family may object to this, but unless he is in a dangerous physical condition, it's better to risk it. Don't deal with him when he's very drunk unless he is ugly and the family needs your help. Wait for the end of the spree, or at least for a lucid interval. Then let his family or friend ask him if he wants to quit for good, and if he would go to any extreme to do so. If he says yes, then his attention should be drawn to you as a person who has recovered. You should be described to him as one of a fellowship who, as part of their own recovery, try to help others and will be glad to talk to him if he cares to see you. If he does not want to see you, never force yourself upon him. Neither should the family hysterically plead with him to do anything, nor should they tell him much about you. They should wait for the end of his next drinking bout. You might place a book where he can see it in the interval. Here, no specific rule can be given. The family must decide these things, but urge them not to be over anxious, for that might spoil matters.
Thank you, Terry. And as Tanya, as Tanya reads our study portion tonight, I could use at least 2 more hands. So Tanya, you can pick it up from there and read our study portion.
Thank you, Larry, so much. Tanya, alcoholic. Good evening, everybody. And it reads, I'm happy to see Susan L. here for the first time tonight. I love you. Thank you for being here. And here
love you too.
Here comes our song for tonight. Usually, the family should not try to tell your story. When possible, avoid meeting a man through his family. Approach through a doctor or an institution is a better bet. If your man needs hospitalization, he should have it, but not forcibly unless he's violent. Let the doctor, if he will, tell him he has something in the way of a solution. When your man is better, the doctor might suggest a visit from you. Though you have talked with the family, leave them out of the first discussion. Under these conditions, your prospect will see he's under no pressure. He will feel he can deal with you without being nagged by his family. Call on him while he's still jittery. He may be more receptive when depressed. See your man alone if possible. At first, engage in general conversation. After a while, turn the talk to some phase of drinking. Tell him enough about your drinking habits, symptoms, and experiences to encourage him to speak of himself. If he wishes to talk, let him do so. You will thus get a better idea of how you ought to proceed. If he is not communicative, give him a sketch of your drinking career up to the time you quit, but say nothing for the moment of how that was accomplished. If he is in a serious mood, dwell on the troubles liquor has caused you, being careful not to moralize or lecture. If his mood is light, tell him humorous stories of your escapades. Get him to tell some of his. When he sees you know all about the drinking game, commence to describe yourself as an alcoholic. Tell him how baffled you were, how you finally learned that you were sick. Give him an account of the struggles you made to stop. Show him the mental twist which leads to the first drink of a spree. We suggest you do this as we have done it in the chapter on alcoholism. If he's alcoholic, he will understand you at once. He will match your mental inconsistencies with some of his own. If you are satisfied that he is a real alcoholic, begin to dwell on the hopeless future of the malady. Show him from your own experience how the queer mental condition surrounding that first drink prevents normal functioning of the willpower. Don't at this stage refer to this book unless he has seen it and wishes to discuss it. And be careful not to brand him as an alcoholic. Let him draw his own conclusion. If he sticks to the idea that he can still control his drinking, tell him that possibly he can, if he is not too alcoholic. But insist that if he is severely afflicted, there may be little chance he can recover by himself. Continue to speak of alcoholism as an illness, a fatal malady. Talk about the conditions of body and mind which accompany it. Keep his attention focused mainly on your personal experience. Explain that many are doomed who never realize their own predicament. Doctors are rightly loath to tell alcoholic patients the whole story unless it will serve some good purpose. But you may talk to him about the hopelessness of alcoholism because you offer a solution. You will soon have your friend admitting he has many, if not all, of the traits of the alcoholic. If his own doctor is willing to tell him that he's an alcoholic, so much the better. Even though your protege may not have entirely admitted his condition, he has become very curious to know how you got well. Let him ask you that question if he will. Tell him exactly what happened to you. Stress the spiritual feature freely. If the man is agnostic or atheist, make it empathetic that he does not have to agree with your conception of God. He can choose any conception he likes, provided it makes sense to him. The main thing is that he be willing to believe in a power greater than himself and that he'll live by spiritual principles. Thank you so much. Thank you, Larry. Thank you.
Thank you to all of our readers. Now, we have the batting order here. Is first of all Sheila, William, Trish, Linda, and Kenny. And I'm going to ask that our readers please unmute yourselves and speak clearly and follow the text sentence by sentence. If you lose your place, you can pass it or allow me to guide you to the answer. But let's not let the rest of everyone just not speak the answers to them, but just let one of us, we are and do have a recording going on. So at this time, the first question goes to Sheila. And the first question to you, Sheila, is what else should the family not try to do?
Usually, the family should not try to tell your story.
And William, your question. When possible, how should we not meet the drinker?
When possible, avoid meeting a man through his family.
And Trish, what is a better introduction?
Approach through a doctor or an institution is a better bet.
Linda, do we oppose medical treatment for the drinker?
If your man needs hospitalization, he should have it, but not forcibly unless he is violent.
Kenny, who can best introduce the prospect to your possible solution?
Let the doctor, if he will, tell him he has something in the ways of a solution.
Back to you, Sheila. When might you see him?
When your man is better, the doctor might suggest a visit from you.
And William, should the family be present at our first meeting?
No, you have talked with the family. Leave them out of the discussion. First discussion.
Trish, why is this a good idea?
Under these conditions, your prospect will see he is under no pressure.
Linda, it will let him what?
He will feel he can deal with you without being nagged by his family.
Kenny, when do you really want to have your first talk with a serious drinker?
Fall on him while he is still jittery.
Back to you, Sheila. Why is this? Why is that?
He may be more receptive when depressed.
And first comment of the evening, when an alcoholic is still jittery and depressed, he may be most willing to do anything to not have to go through this misery again.
William, how do we want the first meet? How do we want to first meet the prospect?
Leave your man alone, if possible.
Trish, how do we begin?
At first, engage in general conversation.
Linda, then start talking about what?
After a while, turn to talk to some phase of drinking.
Kenny, a two-part question, still one sentence. A, what do we tell him? And B, what are we hoping for?
Tell him enough about your drinking habits, symptoms, and experience to encourage him to speak of himself.
Sheila, if he starts talking, what do we do?
If he wishes to talk, let him do so.
William, what will you learn initially?
You would thus get a better idea of how you ought to proceed.
Trish, what do you do if he doesn't want to talk?
If he is not communicative, give him a sketch on your own drinking career up to the time you quit.
Linda, is this a good time to talk about our program of recovery?
But say nothing for the moment of how that was accomplished.
And Kenny, another two-parter, one sentence. A, if he seems to be serious about our conversation, what do we dwell on? And B, what are we careful not to do?
If he's in a serious mood, if he just dwell on the trouble that has caused you, being careful not to moralize or lecture.
Sheila, if he is enjoying the conversation, do what?
If his mood is light, tell him humorous stories of your escapades.
William, encourage him to do what?
Get him to tell some of his.
Trish, once he sees that you know what you are talking about, what do we do?
When he sees you know all about the drinking game, commence to describe yourself as an alcoholic.
Linda, tell him what?
I lost my place.
Page 92. Tell him how. Top of
Oh, tell him how you were baffled. Tell him how baffled you were, how you finally learned that you were sick.
yeah. Kenny, give him an account of what?
Give him an account of the struggles you made to stop.
Sheila, should we show him what the mental twist leads to?
Yes, show him the mental twist which leads to the first drink of a spree.
William, what chapter in the book do we go to explain the insanity of alcoholism?
We suggest you do this as we have done in the chapter on alcoholism.
And another comment, this is referring to chapter 3, more about alcoholism, which is all about mental obsession and untreated alcoholism, and starts on page 30.
Thank you. So true. Trish, what will this do for him?
If he is alcoholic, he will understand you at once.
Linda, will he maybe enter into a can you stop this dialogue?
He will
Or
match.
top this. Can you top this dialogue?
He will match your mental inconsistencies with some of his own.
Mm-hmm. Kenny, a two-parter. Still one sentence. What very important determination are we to make at this point? And B, if we suspect we have a real one, what do we begin to do?
If you are satisfied that he's a real alcoholic, begin to dwell on the hopeless feature of the malady.
And Sheila, a two-parter. One sentence. A, what is the source of your information? And B, what do we try to show him?
Show him from your own experience how the queer mental condition surrounding that first drink prevents normal functioning of the willpower.
And William, a two-parter. One sentence. A, what do we not do at this point? And B, unless what?
Don't at this stage refer to this book unless he has seen it and wishes to discuss it.
Yes. Trish, what do we not call him, even though it is necessary since we have determined that he may be an alcoholic?
And be careful not to brand him as an alcoholic.
Yes. Kenny, what is important?
Let him draw his own conclusion.
Sheila, what do we do if he doesn't think he has a serious drinking problem?
If he sticks to the idea that he can still control his drinking, tell him that possibly he can, if he's not too alcoholic.
And comment. Remember Fred's story in chapter 3? They told him what they knew of alcoholism, and then left him to learn the truth for himself.
Self-diagnosing program. William, do we tell him the truth anyway?
But insist if he severely afflicted, there may be a mere chance he can recover by himself.
And another comment, a year later, coming off a drunk, Fred remembered they had told him that if he had an alcoholic mind, he would drink again.
Trish, how do we continue to speak of alcoholism?
Continue to speak of alcoholism as an illness, a fatal malady.
Linda, do we emphasize the powerless because of the allergy and the unmanageability because of the alcoholic mind?
I lost my place.
I'll come back to you, Linda. Kenny, do you know where we are?
Oh, wait a minute. I got it.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Talk about the conditions of body and mind which accompany it.
Yes. All right. Kenny, on what do we keep his attention focused?
keep his attention focused mainly on your personal experience.
Sheila, what do we explain to him?
Explain that many are doomed who never realize their predicament.
William, are doctors anxious to tell their alcoholic patients the truth?
Doctor likely loath to tell alcoholic patient the whole story unless it will serve some good purpose.
And Trish, a two-parter. One sentence. A, what can we do that the doctors are reluctant to do? And B, why is this so?
But you may talk to him about the hopelessness of alcoholism because you offer a solution.
Linda, if we stick with the directions given here, what will very likely happen?
You will soon have your friend admitting he has many, if not all, of the traits of the alcoholic.
Kenny, what will help you get his serious attention?
If his own doctor is willing to tell him that he is alcoholic, so much the better.
And Sheila, if we have done a good job of describing the disease to our protege, what will he be curious to know?
Even though your protege may not have entirely admitted to his condition, he has become very curious to know how you got well.
And William, what do we let him do? Or what, yeah.
Let him ask you that question if he will.
Yes, I'm sorry for interrupting, Kenny. Would you say that one more time?
Let him ask you that question if he will.
Yes. Trish, tell him what?
Tell him exactly what happened to you.
And Linda, stress what?
Stress the spiritual feature freely.
And Kenny, what do we do if he is a non-believer?
If the man be agnostic or atheist, make it emphatic that he does not have to agree with your conception of God.
Yeah. All right, Sheila. He can choose what?
He can choose any conception he likes, provided it makes sense to him.
And William, you have the last question of the evening. The main thing is that he be willing to do two things. What are they?
The main thing is that he be willing to believe in his power greater than himself, and that he live by the spiritual principle. And that's our advice. Just make a noise so you can remember that.
And the final comment of the evening, the spiritual principles are the 12 steps.
All right. So, at this time, it is open for experience for the pages that we have just read, that you can share if you have experience with these pages that we have read. Please stay on topic. be mindful of the time. There will be a 5-minute timer that will be placed that will help us so that everybody will have a chance to share that wants to. Please, a friendly reminder, absence of profanity offends nobody in this meeting. So we are now open for comments, questions, observations, and spiritual experience based on the study material that was just read. The floor is open. The dental chair. Who will be the first?
I just want to say, it's always, my name is William Michael. The longer I stay here, the more amazing that I get when I read the literature. And we go over this, like we did tonight, how that they know the inner working of an alcoholic. They know, and the way they use it. Don't tell us, don't tell it, go to his family. Don't do this, because it's selfish and self-centeredness. I know they teaming up on me. You ain't gonna get nothing out of how they approach, how to pass this information on. Always talking the first person, not the second person. I know I would do the same thing. And he was talking about the identification. I didn't get sober right away, but they sent me away to a rehab, and this is God true. I was sitting at rehab when and they had the AA to come in there. And there were like 250 people in the audience. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at them. I'm identifying with them so much. I said, they actors. They come in here to fool me. Now, out of those 249 people, it was one person they came in. I thank God I was able to get this program. Because, I didn't know anything. I just know. And when it came, my sponsor didn't tell me I was selfish and self-centered. My sponsor told me, say, you're very sensitive. You take everything personal. You want what you want when you want it. So I understood that. I understood that if I had heard it any other way, because I thought I was a person who gave a lot, but whenever they threw their curveball in there, I went for it, man. They said, without asking for anything back, so I really always expected you to something from you for that, your attention, or you do something I want you to do. Thank God I don't have to live like that today, man. I can laugh about it. We can laugh about it today, And thank God for God being with Bill and them too, because they struggled with it, and when you read this, I remember whenever two things happened. Bill was staying sober, so he first went to his wife and tell her about it. She said, I don't care what's going on. You sober, you keep doing what you're doing, Then he went to Dr. Sitwood, and then Dr. Sitwood tell us, don't lecture nobody, don't talk from no hilltop, don't do this and don't do, tell your story in the first person, And then that's when he met Dr. Bob. And Dr. Bob said, here's a man that knows what you're talking about, And I certainly identify with that. If you told me something was wrong with me, I stopped drinking with people because they began to tell me something wrong with me. And I started drinking by myself, So I isolated myself, Because if you point one thing at me, I could tell you 5 things wrong with you. So there was no dialogues there, There wasn't no lecture there, So I'm just so grateful to be sober, and I can laugh about that because somehow God brought me through. He put a lot of angels to help me to get here, so I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, William. Who will be the next one? I know we've all got some experience. Yeah, Trish.
Hi, everybody. I'm Trish. I'm an alcoholic. And, I can see both sides of this and how they're instructing us to meet somebody. Because the first person who really introduced me to AA did exactly what this program was telling me. And see your man alone if possible. And I try to do that. Most of the new people that I meet with, I meet in meetings. But I can always pull them to a corner or pull them aside after the meeting to talk and get to know them a little bit. And that's that general conversation that it says. First engage in general conversation. Find out a little bit about them. And share a little bit about me. Just like, I'm not going to say general chit chat, but I'm not going to throw a program immediately from the get-go, but I'm going to work up to it. And let him drink, or tell him about my drinking habits. Tell him how I drank and how I discovered that I was an alcoholic. And maybe the other person will also be willing to share a little bit about them, so that we can start relating on the alcoholic level. And then how did I find out that I was sick? I wasn't a bad person. I wasn't a weak person. I wasn't a whole lot of things that I thought I was. But after coming in here, I realized that I was a sick person with a disease. And it took walking in these rooms and reading this book with other people several times before I started recognizing that alcoholism is a disease. It's not a moral thing. It's not a physical weakness. It's an illness. And sometimes that's hard. That was very hard for me to grasp onto. And I've talked to some people who have also had that same struggle. So that was something during our general conversation that we could both relate to. And then when it comes to that, and then, I tell them exactly what happened to me. What was my story? How did I drink? How did I find my way into AA? And then what were the gifts that I got out of AA? The promises, the sobriety, the friendships, finding my God. And then I always include, when it comes up in conversation, it's not always our first conversation, but I always stress, we pick our own conception of God, provided it makes sense to him. My God doesn't have to look like that person's, and that person's doesn't have to look like my God, as long as there's something that he can believe in, some sort of power greater than himself, and be willing to live by those spiritual principles. And, there's so much repetition in this book because we need to hear things more than once in order for it to stick in. And while it says where we just finished reading, the main thing is that he be willing to believe in a power greater than himself, and that he lived by spiritual principles, and that's in the squiggly writing. That's also on 46. Laying aside prejudice and expressing a willingness to believe in a power greater than ourselves, we commence to get results. And, I can share those results with the person that I'm talking to, along with the stressing that it doesn't have to be the God I believe in. Doesn't have to be my God. The point is to find a God, a power greater than himself or herself. And there are times, I shared a little bit last week, there are times that I do talk with families, but I do try not to have this first conversation with the family, because I don't want the person to feel like they have to hold back so that they can't tell the whole truth with their family there. They're going to be more honest if there's not an audience. And I have found that from my own experience and from sharing with other people. But, once I spend the time to get to know somebody, then I can start introducing them to the program, to the process that we do, and from the disease concept, and then especially into that higher power, who's the one who's really going to help with the sobriety. And that's enough out of me, thanks.
Thank you, Trish. Linda.
Hi, my name is Linda. I'm an alcoholic. Thank you, everyone that shared. Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone that shared. I like what it says, try to meet the man, but not through his family. There was somebody in AA. There is someone in AA I'm very friendly with. And they call me mom. I don't know why. But he have a aunt that, that drinks. So he said, here's her number. she's drinking. Maybe you can help her. The woman was drunk when I would call her. She never called me. And she would talk the same time I'd talk. She'd talk about how her job is this and this and that. And she would talk about everything except her own alcoholism. She was on the brink of losing her job, brink of losing her house. Her spouse left her. She couldn't drive anymore. And her solution was, well, I'll just have the liquor delivered to my house. So, the destruction was already occurring. Everything the walls were tumbling down. And she still was in denial. And then she said to me, as I shared something about myself, and she would talk about everything else except alcoholism, She avoided the subject. She avoided it so much, And I hadn't sponsored people as much as I sponsor people now. But I learned my lesson. For every time you sponsor someone and you help them, you learn, you get a lesson, you get a little bit more wisdom. And she said to me, well, I don't want to be like you. I said, excuse me? She said, well, I don't want to be like you. And I said, oh, but you'd rather be like you? And then I started taking her inventory. Because that really cut like a knife when she said that. So I took her inventory. I said, so you'd rather be like you? In denial about your drinking? So next time I try to call her, she didn't pick up the phone. And that was that. And when this, my friend called me and asked me about, and another thing she did is she started to talk about him, and they were family. Oh, it's so sad when his mother died. I said, I said, we're not doing that. I had to keep doing that. I had to keep stopping her. Well, she's a drunk. That's what she's going to do. Alcoholics can't hold water. You know what I'm saying? So, when he asked me about her, I told him, I said, she's in a lot of denial. I said, she don't want to get sober. I said, and every time I would talk to her, she would be drunk. Boy, he ripped me. He defended her. And I was not the first person he tried to dump that lady on, his aunt on, And I was shocked. And that taught me a lesson. Somebody's family, no. Somebody's family member, no. You tell them to go to AA meeting. Don't tell them to call me. No. I learned my lesson. And it's right there. It says it in the book. Try to meet him himself, not through the family, because then it gets all messy. You know what I'm saying? And I learned my lesson with that. And then one time I was talking to him, and it was I think his that was the same aunt that was on the line. He was talking to me. It was like a three-way call, and somebody else was on the line from AA. And it was me, him, and somebody else from AA. And then she was like, oh, yeah, and I'm going to stop drinking. And she was drunk when she was talking. I'm going to stop drinking. I'm a this, I'm a that. And he was like, yeah, okay, And I got off the phone. And I was like, why did he make that three-way call? To let me know that she didn't stop drinking? Or was he trying to make his amends or something? Because he really came out his face wrong on me. But I like this passage right here, talking about how to instruct that, the alcoholic, because it taught me, we can only help a person as much as we can, and that's it. That lady wasn't ready. She didn't reach her bottom. She had all the characteristics of an alcoholic, and I was in denial. You couldn't tell me nothing. I didn't want to be bothered. I tell you about my job and this and, all the things I had, and that's the first thing. That is the first thing that alcoholic does. That's the first thing, and I've seen that so many times. They want to talk about what they have, their degrees, their job, all this stuff to blow themselves up. But they won't talk about their own alcoholism. You'll see it. It's like the denial, the wall of denial is right there. And for me, you learn, you get lessons, and then you learn how to cut through that, get through it, so you can get to the whole subject of this drinking problem that they have. Because one lady that did that, I listened quietly to her, because I always listen to people, and I asked, I said, just tell me this one thing. Are you an alcoholic or are you not? And then she just couldn't really answer me. I said, because if you're not an alcoholic, then we shouldn't be conversating. I said, because I'm an alcoholic, and it's about recovery for me. You know, I said, and I'm here to help you. I said, but if you're not sure, I said, you can get back to me. Good luck with that. You know, and that's all we can do. You can't, I'm going to say this and I'm going to stop because I know I'm over. But you can't make, what did they say? You can bring a horse to water, but you can't make them drink it, especially if they want whiskey. Thank you for letting me share.
Thanks, Linda. Jamie.
Wrong one. Sorry.
Let's see.
Yeah, Larry, I was trying to get to unmute. Good evening, family. My name is Jamie, very grateful, recovered alcoholic, but I'm glad to see my friend Jamie here as well. Hope everybody's doing all right tonight. And if you're new to our meeting, very grateful to have you here. Tonight's reading is all about being part of the solution rather than the problem. And while it does not mention sponsorship in this, in the first 164 of the book, this chapter certainly alludes to the idea of sponsorship. And you know the great thing about it, folks? There is not one page in there that tells me I get to tell you that you gotta. But yet I hear so many sponsors say, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, blah, blah, blah. Really? Show me the line where it says, I get to tell you, you gotta. It doesn't say that. It tells me that I share what happened with me, what my experience is. I have mixed feelings about the introduction from the family, because I have been introduced by families before, just as someone who may be able to help. And the reason I say that is because I grew up in a Lotto Club atmosphere, and I knew many Al-Anons before their alcoholic came into the rooms. But because we were friends, the introduction came. And I was sitting in the rooms. They didn't say, oh, I want this man to be your sponsor or anything like that. You know, when we tell people you got to do this and you got to do that, that is just bad sponsorship, in my opinion. Because the truth is, I have my own unmanageability problems. What the hell makes me think I can manage anybody else's life? I can't. So what is sponsorship really all about? It's taking the hand of another alcoholic and becoming a guiding light through the process of taking the steps. To be their guide. And when I start working with somebody new, and this is, I do what most of us do in this group, which is called Big Book Sponsorship, I take them from the title page through the first 43 pages, including the doctor's opinion, 51 pages in all, to give them all the information necessary for them to diagnose their own alcoholism, the only self-diagnosed disease in the world. But, you know, the reason I do that, and I take them through the preface and forwards as well to help them understand our history of Alcoholics Anonymous. But the reason I do that is because the doctor's opinion tells me three vitally important things about my disease. First, that I have a spiritual malady. Second, that I've got a mental obsession. And third, that I got this thing called an allergy that sets on the phenomenon of craving. And I know a lot of sponsors who will skip the doctor's opinion. Why not take it right from the source and give it to them? And I take them through all of through the chapters. Bill's story, classic 12-step call by Bill Wilson himself, in his own words. Chapter 2 shows us that there is a solution. However, it still shows us what part of the problem is as well. Chapter 3, more about alcoholism, and it was read in tonight's That Ain't in the Book, is only about two things: the mental obsession and untreated alcoholism. And when we read those chapters, we get to the understanding that the mental obsession always precedes the first drink. There is nothing so bad in my life that a drink wouldn't make a hell of a lot worse, and I know that today. And as we read the 4 stories in there, 3 of them real, 1 fictitious, we can see that they were all living in untreated alcoholism because they weren't using a spiritual pathway, and that the mental obsession did precede the first drink. So as I take a newcomer or someone who's been around 25 or 30 years through this work, because that happens too, what happens is we get to page 44, and at the top of page 44 in the first paragraph it says, in the preceding chapters you have learned much about alcoholism. We hope that we have helped you to I'm paraphrasing of course, made it clear to help you differentiate the difference between the alcoholic and the non-alcoholic. And then there's 2 statements which I turn into questions. If when I'm drinking I cannot stop on my own, or I have no control over the amount I take, it's time for me to get off the debate, folks. I am an alcoholic. I just diagnosed myself. Step 1 is done, and now it is time for me to move on with the rest of the program. And then my goal is to get that person to page 45 where it says the lack of power. That was our dilemma, and we had to find a power greater than ourselves which could solve their problem. See, yeah, I take people through the steps and I work with them continually and have for years. But my job is to take their hand from my hand and put it in the hand of God, so that they can develop a relationship with the power greater than themselves that they can depend on. That's what my job is. And if I don't do that and I make it all about me and I make it all about a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't have anything to do with my alcoholism, I'm being very misguided in the work that I'm trying to do. We all have outside issues. Life is full of outside issues. Guess what? Drinking or not, those issues are going to happen. That's how life is. Those issues are not the cause of my alcoholism, but they are most certainly causes and conditions of why I drink, but they aren't what makes me drink or what makes me an alcoholic. I'll say this and then I'll shut up. There's lots of people in this world who have mental obsession. Take an ex-murderer or a serial killer, for example. They have a mental obsession with killing people. That doesn't make them an alcoholic. There's lots of people who have spiritual malady, even great religious folks that have spiritual malady. That doesn't make them an alcoholic. But I have both of those things coupled with that damn allergy. And that allergy is the common bond that makes everyone here an alcoholic. And that's the point that I am trying to make in working with that newcomer. And if I can lead them to that relationship with God, no matter how sick or messed up life is, it will lead them to that power greater than themselves that will become the God of their experience rather than the God of their understanding. And it can lead them to permanent, lasting recovery under any and all conditions. Thank you. I love you all. God bless. And you know what, folks? Have a magnificent day on purpose. Why? Because it will lead you to a life that is filled with purpose. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pickles. And Jamie, I think you had your hand up, and I called on the wrong Jamie. Is that right? Did you have a hand up?
My name's Jamie. I'm an alcoholic.
All right.
And this is my first time at your meeting. Well, you guys are very organized. I'll give you that one. We're not supposed to be organized, but in regards to the reading, I love welcoming people into Alcoholics Anonymous. And I find that, like the book tells us, I chat about my drinking and ask them about theirs. And I have not met an alcoholic yet that doesn't like to talk about their favorite subject, which is them. So that's what it tells me to do, to listen. And when I can listen, it does something to the heart. Because I don't know about you, but when I walked in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, nobody wanted to know what I had to say. I was alone, I was isolated, and I was broken. And when I can put my hand out and listen, you can just see the relief. And then they want to come back. And that's the goal for me. Because once I stepped into those doors, man, it took a long time to get me there. And when I could see joy and hope, I wanted to come back. I wanted to be a part of this. I had no idea what you were doing, but I knew you were like me, because you drank like me. So for me, I just really try to listen, and God's in charge, not me. So thank you for letting me join your meeting, and it's been an experience, I'll tell you that. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie, for joining us. All right, somebody, it's a dental chair again, so somebody, before I start calling a name, we still got about 10 minutes. Hey, Eric, would you like to say something as our co-host?
Thank you, Larry. I'm Aaron. I'm a grateful alcoholic. And you know, I've been in and out of these rooms for a long time, and a lot of people told me stuff because, you know, I was in AA, in and out. I was never really in recovery, but I was in for court and family, and and I wasn't ready to listen. So if nothing changes, nothing changes, and I think about that now. I had one prospect once, and it was good at first. I knew him from rehab, and he ended up going to jail, and we did some work while he was there, and it was going good. And I don't really know along the lines, but he started asking me for money for his books, and the first time I did it, I sent a little bit of money because I know the struggle. I've been there, and if I can help any way possible, I will. But then it's the work we were doing got less, and the asking for stuff got like more. So I finally had to put my foot down and say, like, this is what we're doing. This is why we're here, but I can't send you any more money. And the phone calls stopped. So I didn't take any offense to it, but that was a lesson learned for me. And once in a while he'll reach out, and I'll always answer, but I set that boundary. He doesn't ask me for money anymore. He tells me what's going on sometimes, but I had to set that boundary, and if they're not ready, they're not ready. But but it helped me. It helped me grow. It helped me learn, what where I stand. And right now, I don't have any prospects, but I think I talked about it last week. I work in the ED, and I get a lot of alcoholics, and I get a lot of drug addicts, and they have all those questions like, I don't really, they don't have questions towards me because I don't really break my anonymity right then and there, but they're like, oh, this is happening again. I can't believe this is happening again. And if I hear that, I will break my anonymity then, and I'll give them my experience, strength, and hope in a nutshell, and what happened, what it's like now, and I give them my number to a few people. I don't pry. I don't tell them they're doing anything wrong, but I do explain that there is a solution, and that if they're willing, they're willing to go to any lengths. It can happen for them too, and that helps me tremendously as well because it keeps me in the now. And that's all I got. Thank you for letting me share.
Thanks, Aaron. I got time to at least call one more. I've always liked to hear Tanya.
Oh, and then you've got a hand up after her.
Oh, I do. Hey, let me hear from Andre from DC. First timer?
No, I have 18 years under my belt. My started April 27, 2008. And so,
Is this the first time to be at this meeting?
yes, it's a big book meeting. I definitely am familiar with the big book.
Good.
Welcome.
Good.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. I just want to rehash on what a share was said earlier. I'm not going to crosstalk, but I definitely looked into page 8 on the big book and the second paragraph where it says, "No words can tell the loneliness and despair I found in that bitter morass of self-pity. Quicksand stretched around me like in all directions. I had met my match. I had been overwhelmed. Alcohol was my master." I mean, that just says it right all at once, universally, that alcohol, in my experience, was my master. When I got into recovery, it really slowed things down about how I was connected to alcohol in my story, my experiences. I've had a lot of experience with the drinking, and the hard drinking, as well as the soft drinking, and also the other types of involvement with other drugs that were involved in my drinking. And so that I used people too along the way, and I burned bridges, and I was going escapades, and until I got dry for about 1 year. Now, I didn't start sponsoring people until about after the second year or third year, and then I started getting more sponsees. After that, I had like about 11 sponsees, and I worked with them diligently until they kind of fled off or I handed them over when I was going through rough times. And even as a sponsor, sometimes they're not even ready, so you have to kind of get through them with, these kind of like big book meetings that help me to get through what I need to affirm about my experiences that really matter to people now that I'm sponsoring currently. So, I am really grateful for this meeting, and that's all I got. Thanks for the share.
Thanks, Andre. How does that your name pronounced?
Yeah.
Thank you. Tanya.
Thank you so much, Larry. Tanya, alcoholic. Grateful to be here. Grateful to be sober and alive today. I love the reading. So I'm young in sobriety. Not young at my age, but sobriety, yes. And I'm in my 4th year. Just celebrated in July, and when I came to AA, I really didn't know anything about AA, or I didn't know anyone that was in AA. So it was very new to me. The hospital said you need to go to these meetings, and you need to keep notes which meetings you're going and what you're learning. So that's how I came to AA, and the reason why I came, because I'm a real alcoholic. they sent me because they knew what I was doing, and what that did to my body. And of course, I admitted it as well. I mean, that's. But the first person, I was in the meeting and I just found it online, and this lady approached me and she knew I didn't have a sponsor. And I was probably in sobriety, maybe like a week or so, and she approached me and said, "I'm going to be your sponsor." So she was my sponsor. It was a very, very unpleasant situation. That woman was just out of control. I was very, very sick, so I was not a troublemaker of a sponsor. I was just very weak, very, very quiet. I was dying, and she was not pleasant. She called me a liar. She said that I didn't do what she asked me to do in front of everybody in the meeting, and afterwards, I found out that she was actually, some people were calling police on her because of her behavior. And she came to the hospital to talk to me, and she prayed with me. And then afterwards, she said, "I prayed for you. I did this for you. I did that for you." So that really got me fearful of, and she dumped me. She picked me and she dumped me because she called me a liar and I'm not doing anything. And then after a few months, I just didn't want to have a sponsor. I just didn't want to go through the experience like that. I thought everybody was going to treat me like this. And then I found somebody else, and she was my temporary sponsor for almost 9 months. And then finally she said, "Hey, are you going to ask me to be your sponsor? What are we doing here?" So I did. So I said, "Okay, would you like to be my sponsor?" And that experience was a lot better. And now I have my third sponsor, who I love so much. And I see how she is redirecting me in that on that spiritual path. And what I love about her is her spirituality. It's something that I'm learning, and I think I'm becoming better with that. I'm not trying to show off, but I'm not too bad of a sponsee, so I learn and listen and stay teachable. But and my second sponsor asked me to do sponsoring very, very early. I was 10 months sober, and I felt that, I feel like that today, that was too early. I don't think people should start. Even the book, I know what the big book is saying. I know it's one alcoholic working with other, and my sponsor kept saying, "You need to sponsor because that's how you stay sober." So I started very early, and at one point I had 5 new people that I was sponsoring, and it was really tough. It was really tough. People wouldn't call me at 2:00 in the morning asking me questions while I was still waiting for a liver transplant. So it wasn't that. And every time I would come to the meetings, I hear old timers saying, "It's in the book." If I have a question, they say, "Read the book, go back to read the book." And now I understand what they were saying. I mean, just these pages that we read, they're incredible. These are suggestions, step by step, what I need to do. I don't need to invent anything new. It's already invented. I just need to follow these suggestions. And so yeah, I really enjoy it. I have 2 sponsees right now because 4 of them they've relapsed, so I'm down to 2. And that was hard on me because I'm thinking, I'm doing something wrong. What's wrong with me? They shouldn't be asking me to be a sponsor because they're relapsing. And then of course there is that, my sponsor saying, "But you're staying sober, you're staying sober." So that's what's the most important. And I would, the big book says, let them, the way it says, tell you, or let them find out if they're real alcoholics. So I would tell them, "You are here, so you're an alcoholic. You need to do this. Please, you're so young. You're so pretty. You're a handsome, stay." And that didn't work. And that's not what program is telling us to do. So I think for me, it wasn't the right thing to start early. But that was my sponsor. And, so anyways, I'm not trying to gossip or blame somebody, but that's what happened to me in my early sobriety. So early. So anyway, that's
Thank you.
all
Thank you,
from me. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Trish, for volunteering me. I love it so much. And with that, I'll stop talking.
Thank you for sharing.
Appreciate
Thank you for sharing.
I didn't mean to
Yeah.
cut you off. I didn't. Anyway, I don't see any other hands. Aaron,
Yeah,
would you like to take us out?
I would love to. From page 164, our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order. But obviously, you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then. And here at Primary Purpose, we have a very special way of closing out. Since we cannot hold our hands together, we hold our hands up, and we close with the Lord's Prayer. Prayer. Our Father, who art
in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in the heavens. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Amen.
Keep coming back.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for
Good.
thank you, everybody.
Good night, family. Good night. Good night.
So
Good to
glad
see you,
you
William.
joined us.
All the
Good to
kids
see
came
you,
in.
Larry.
For our newcomers.
Yeah.
Wow.